Agentic AI is about you doing more. Identic AI is about you becoming more. It's about you fully embracing, taking that superpower of humanity and taking it to a power of 10x. Knowledge is everywhere, it's free. When that happens, judgment. Judgment becomes premium. You have to outlearn to outlead. 50% of employees will learn in less than 3 months what it took used to be 12 to 18 months. Value in an AI world improves exponentially as you move decision making closer and closer to the customer. It's not what you don't know that causes you to fail, it's what you believe to be true. And ego stops you from questioning what you believe to be true.
We are here today with another round of podcast, which is new role of CEO leading through Identic AI. Today we have our guest Joseph Bradley. Joseph is chairman and CEO of Gembex X, and also he's the world leading futuristic, you know, known personality. So what I'm going to do is I'll give some background about what Joseph does, and maybe we can, Joseph, you can give some background of yourself. So Joseph has spent several years, almost 3 decades, in leading large-scale technology and transformation initiative, including he was also CEO of Autonomous at Neom. Neom is a large enterprise. He was also a global VP of Cisco in the past. So also, there are two important books. I will let Joseph talk about it. Joseph, welcome you here. Pleasure to have you on my podcast. Maybe you can
Great.
give some background about you to our audience. Yeah,
Sure. First of all, super happy to be here. It's always great to see you again. I feel as though I got the best job in the world. I mean, I wake up each and every day and I get to figure out how do I improve the human capability of each and every person on the planet. I mean, that's really what it's ultimately about using AI. Um, JMBX was established with just that vision, right? How do we extend human capability using AI? We have a great product that we'll get a chance to talk about called U Squared, which is our true manifestation of what we believe to be probably the biggest movement that we've seen in technology called Identic AI versus Agentic AI. We'll talk about what that difference is as we get more into it, but super happy to be here.
sure. So I think I was about to ask you this only that authentic AI versus agentic AI. So if you can,
Yes.
yeah, if you can just brief.
Sure. You know, So if you think about kind of where we are today, everything that we do is somehow digitized, explosive amounts of information and data. And that, of course, has given rise to this beast that we call, AI. Well, the first level of that was basically allowing us to be able to do tasks. Well, if you remember, we used to have this thing called macros, but they were basically for one application. Well, agentic AI is really ultimately about getting things done, getting tasks done, but doesn't care who you are, doesn't have anything to do with you personally, and it's very reactive. You have to go and you have to type in, you have to tell it to do something. I wrote this book with Don Tapscott. It's called You to the Power of Two. And it's all about what we call identic AI, AI tied to human identity. It's not about AI being a tool, but it's AI being a partner. This is something that is a natural extension of you. It takes all of your judgment, but has all the knowledge of the world embedded into it. It's a natural extension of you. It's not reactive, it's predictive. It's proactive. It doesn't have to wait for you to type into something.
Mm.
Agentic AI, agentic AI is about you doing more. Identic AI is about you becoming more. It's about you fully embracing, taking that superpower of humanity and taking it to a power of 10x. So that's basically what we call identic AI.
Got it. So this is very clear because I think lots of people might have questions around what is
Yeah.
these two different points. So if you look at today, all the leadership conversation are filled with lots of buzzword, right?
Yeah.
From your perspective, what I'd like to know what is actually changing in the role of CEO right now.
Yeah. I think with the advent of AI and especially identic AI, what you're seeing is the CEO's role is moving from running a company to really designing how a company thinks. And what I mean by that is three major trends. One, we now live in an environment where knowledge is everywhere. It used to be as a CEO, you had to search out and figure out where the information was so that you could then garner all that data and collect more data because that gave you an advantage. Knowledge is everywhere. It's free. When that happens, judgment, judgment becomes premium. And so you have to teach your people how to apply proper judgment. Well, how do they do that? Well, you live in a world where all the answers are known now.
Yeah.
Value, therefore, is understanding what question to ask. That is the role of a CEO, being able to ensure that the organization is thinking not about how to do something, because that execution is going to be automated. That's AI. It's more about what to do. And then lastly, real-time information is too late. Stop talking about real time. Damage is already done. I hear leaders and senior leaders worrying about dashboards and metrics. It is about predictive, proactive predictability, preventing that disaster or being able to make that move before it happens. So real-time information is far too late. That's ultimately, I think, how the role of the CEO is changing, evolving around how do we help companies, how do we help our company really understand and design around company thinking?
Yeah. So I think, as you have mentioned earlier, we spoke about Identic AI. But if you step back, what does this shift really say about leaders must think and act differently? So I know you have answered
Yes.
partially, but
No, yeah. So, I'll tell you this story that I think kind of sums it up for me. So there was a thing in Silicon Valley called fail fast, right? And everybody, it's like, oh yes, we gotta act with speed and we gotta fail fast. And I can't remember a time where I would walk into John Chambers, CEO of Cisco's office, and John, I got some great news, man. I lost $2 million today, and I got some even better news, man. It only took me a month to lose it. That's not what it's about. It's not what it's ever been about. It is about accelerating your rate of learning. If there's one thing that is changing around how leaders have to think and act differently, is that you have to outlearn to outlead. 50% of employees will learn in less than 3 months what it took used to be 12 to 18 months. So the speed, your learning velocity is to me is what really has to shift and change differently. And the other thing I would tell you is very specifically is prompting is the new language of business. If you are going to live in this world today, you have to be able to learn how to prompt, how to interact with AI. And I tell you, there's so many leaders that don't really understand three basic rules. You got to tell AI the outcome, not the task, right? You got to be clear. You got to give it context. Most people will say, give me this analysis. No, give me this analysis as if you were talking to a CIO who is predominantly heavy in technology and needs to stress the understanding of business operations, whatever the case is. But you got to give it context. And then finally, you got to be able to show me the format. Tell it the format how you want it back. Just don't say, give me a report. Be very specific. This idea of prompting or interacting with AI is something that, again, you fundamentally is changing how we think and how we act differently.
right, because that is going to make decision accurate, and also it could be faster.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
So most of the CEO are making decision in a very is increasingly, if you look at very complex, high stake environment.
Yeah.
What are the change about the structure of decision making itself?
I think when I think about decision making, man, there's two things that jump out at me. One is speed. The speed at which you have to make decisions. So Colin Powell, great American leader, right, had his 40-70 rule. He said, if you make a decision and you have less than 40% of the information, you don't know enough. If you have more than 70% of the information, you've missed it. You've taken too long to make it. So you need to be in that 40 to 70%. The challenge with that in today's world is, man, you get there quickly. The window that you're in, that 40, 70% is unbelievably fast. So speed is the first thing. Secondly, I would tell you is agency. What I mean by that is who actually makes the decision now. Look, value in an AI world improves exponentially as you move decision-making closer and closer to the customer. It is immensely important that you design systems that allow the power of decision to move, to shift from the front line back to strategy, back to the front line again, because that's the speed at which we're moving. So when I think about decision making and complexity, what's changed, I think it's speed and agency.
Yeah. So, I think we are talking about Identic AI and people are central part of it. So if you look at any large transformation program, even M&A I have seen, people is always a difficult part.
Yeah. People
So
are definitely.
yeah, most of the time people are the toughest part. So I wanted to know more from you. Why is people is the hardest part in this? Any large transformation, if you look at.
Yeah. You know, when you think about this, and again, I think people are the greatest asset. The biggest issue that you have is ego.
Yeah.
Look, when it gets tough, we need ego to push through. We need our ego to keep us going, right? But unfortunately, what ego also prevents us from doing is learn. And importantly, the one thing I've learned when running large scale projects, let me tell you, it's not what you don't know that causes you to fail. It's what you believe to be true. And ego stops you from questioning what you believe to be true, those core beliefs. That's what makes it so difficult, so hard, get past these large transformations. And I think with AI, especially you get an identic AI, and you start talking about your digital image of yourself, your identic twin, if you will, it's the first time that people get to see themselves, how they make decisions, how they communicate. And it's a very humbling experience for a lot of people because they don't realize how they come across. They have a vision of how they come across. But when you sit there and you put information and you create this AI twin and it talks and it speaks and it acts like you, and you hear it, you see that as another person, you go, whoa, is that the image I'm pushing off? And I think for the first time, we now have a new tool in our leadership management box that not only help others by interacting with our identical twin, but actually help us change ourselves.
Yeah. So I think the businesses are changing, the complexity are also changing accordingly. Decisions
Yeah.
have to be taken accordingly. So, you know, many organizations I have seen they have very strong strategy. Like they will set up 3 years plan, 4 years plan, but they really struggle with mostly execution part. Why is this gap? If you look at, it's very widening.
Yeah. Execution is a
Yeah.
really strong issue. And when you ask me why is that gap widening, I will tell you, and I really do believe this, it's governance. You see, governance models have not advanced to keep pace with the changes in decision making. So here you are giving all this intellectual capabilities and all this analytics and all this AI power at the edge to customer facing or people doing the work. And yet you got 12 different governance models that you have to go through to make a single decision.
Yeah.
That lack of the governance and the lack, I think that's the biggest mistake, actually, I would say. When I talk to a lot of CEOs and how they're approaching AI, I rarely hear one that says, they are designing or redesigning the governance model to be reflective of an AI-enabled decision-making process. That governance model, that's what's causing, I personally believe, that's what's causing the bottleneck in execution.
Okay, so you say that most of people are not fixing the basic to go and adopt AI, but they're just jumping on trying to solve.
Yeah, they're jumping on it. So I'm gonna give you an example. I won't mention the company, but I got this great piece of AI, its agent, that is now allowing all of my customer-facing personnel to have an immense amount of information regarding a customer. Yet,
Yeah,
in order for them to act on it, in order for them to act on that decision,
yeah,
they have to get the manager's approval, the board's approval, the board of the board's approval, and the board of the board of the board of the board's approval.
yeah, I got it. Yeah, that
That's
is the reason of widening
right.
this gap.
That's exactly right. It defeats the whole purpose. So you say, well, why can't they execute? Well, they know what to execute. So then by the time they go back and they get those approvals, now 3 months, what's happened? Well, the environment's changed.
Yeah.
The, the world has changed, right? Customers moved on. So that's
Okay.
what I need. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you look at, you have worked on the most ambitious transmission initiative globally, right? Including Lyon also you have been working. What are the leadership behavior matters most during the period of uncertainty?
Yeah, it's a really good question. Um, Number one, I really do think that you have to be authentic
Okay.
as a leader. And what I mean by that, authenticity means, um, you know, it's okay to say you don't know. It's okay to be lost
Yeah.
because be lost by definition means you know where you're going. You just don't know how to get there. And to be authentic, it's okay. People
Yeah.
see through BS. They see through it.
Right.
Second thing I would tell you is it's the simplicity and frequency of communication. This is the thing that's so often missed. I call it the 1, 2, 3 rule of execution that I've used very successfully, which says, look, number one, whatever I say, whatever I do, is got to be able to be articulated on a single slide, on a single piece of paper. Why? Because when I leave the room in
Yeah.
a large organization, the people around me have to be able to take that forward message. They got to be able to take that message forward. If if they got 30 slides, they're never going to be able to do that. So you have to be able to put it on a single slide. That's one. Two,
Okay.
you got 2 weeks to be able to get stakeholders aligned, not aligned around how to do something, but aligned around what to do, that this is the problem they want to face. And then
Mhm.
3 weeks, celebrate success, man. No one wants to be a part of a losing thing. People love success. People love momentum. So you got to create that momentum by celebrating even the small things that within that first 3 week window, you got to be able to celebrate success. So that's how I think about it, being authentic and then executing the 1, 2, 3 model of execution that we just kind of went through.
Right. I think for the large programs, this make more sense as well, right? Because
100%.
you see the success slowly and you can work on, and any best practices or lesson learned, you can quickly apply, right?
Yes, yes, 100%. You got to keep, all leaders, we only have the resource, the power, man. We can put our time into something, we can put our money into something.
Yeah.
But the third power, which is the hardest one, and to me, what differentiates the truly the most impactful leaders is we can build momentum. That means we get other people to follow us. We magnify our impact. And that only happens when they have a clear understanding of what it is that we're trying to achieve and that they buy into the purpose. That purpose gives energy to drive. And so if you can work on building that momentum,
Yeah.
that is the secret sauce. And momentum has a lot to do with, man, how people personally feels, that EQ, right? And that's something that, again, I think in the age of AI is really going to be a secret weapon that the most successful leaders will definitely deploy.
Right. Yeah. So I think that makes sense. So what does this effective governance, look like in modern organization without slowing down the momentum? I think you have covered a part, but What are those
Yeah.
effective governments like you in your
Yeah.
experience?
Good question. What does government, what does it actually look like? So I think if you stopped a minute, you said, let's talk about what governance today looks like. Governance today is like a castle, right?
Mhm.
It's got high walls, it's got narrow gates, it's got long approval chains. It's designed to keep things safe, but what? And slow, right? You go slow so you don't mess anything up. The new governance model is like a traffic system, man, right? It's got clear lanes, visible signals, it's agreed upon rules, but you don't ask every permission to go just at every step or every intersection. In other words, the governance model that works, it defines the edges, right? Not the steps. It says things like, here's what we will never do, or here what's always must be true, but it allows the people to operate freely and without friction within a set of rules. And I think when you think about AI specifically, it allows you to push this much closer to the customer we talked about. Judgment should be right up where it needs to be, up close with the customer, right? The last thing I would say is, and a huge mistake that I see a lot of CEOs making, um, is around working with their boards. When you look at governance, they're governing activity. It's the wrong thing. You govern outcomes. You don't govern activity. You don't govern how busy people look, right?
Yeah.
You govern what changed because they acted, right? You know what I'm saying? And so you really have to focus on the outcomes, not the activities. So that's my view of what we need to do from a governance standpoint.
Yeah, it's very relevant for the, I think, most of the CEOs, who are making decisions.
100%.
Yeah. So I
That's
think,
right.
yeah. So my next question is more primary towards CEO. So if you are advising a board today, what could you tell them to look for their next CEO? If they are going for an next CEO, what is your advice for them?
Wow, it's a great great question. Um, Number one, I would tell you is people can't execute what they don't understand. And so to me, you got to have a superpower of communication, especially now.
Mm.
Ne-
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean, I want to be clear, doesn't mean they got to be this great orator. It just means that however they communicate, whether it's written in private, small groups, large groups, on stage, off stage, whatever it is, they got to have a very clear superpower of communication.
Mhm.
The second thing I would tell you is learning velocity. And we talked a little bit about this, which is the best CEOs don't have all the answers, right?
Yeah, of course.
That's not what they have, right? But they will have the ability to be able to explain why they made a mistake and why they were successful. In other words, they have this innate ability to understand and learn from what actions they've taken. It's that rate of learning is what you really need, especially now. And the last thing I'd tell you, and maybe, quite frankly, many of you might think this is the most important, you have to have moral clarity in a machine age. It's, to me, this is non-negotiable. You cannot have a CEO that wants to dictate ethics or delegate ethics to its legal and accounting organizations, right? AI is going to test privacy, fairness, trust, power. It's going to test these things. And if you don't have a CEO with very clear moral clarity, you're going to find yourself very difficult to move forward. And again, that employee base, the Days employee group, really, really values purpose and authenticity.
Right. So thanks for your time. Very, very insightful. I think today I'm very clear that how Identic AI is a more value creation for all complex work.
Thank you.
So thank you, and thank you for people who are listening. We'll join again for another session with. I know your books are very interesting, and I have a couple of questions from there, but we'll do in the next round.
No problem. See you later.
Thank you.